So it's Thanksgiving break, which means traditionally I'm supposed to watch like 2 or 3 movies a day. That's generally what I do during Thanksgiving break. I saw a movie in the theaters. I ate a bunch of Indian food, and now I've watched my second movie, and then I'm going to watch a third movie. But I decided, since my second movie was kind of a sad movie, that I need to watch a happy movie next. So I already lost the page I had open. Oh dear. Hold on one second. I'm going to type and find this page again. Anyways, the movie I watched just now is also about to expire on Filmstruck. It expires in like 2 days, and this is 2002's the Magdalene sisters, written and directed by Peter Mullan. Peter Mullan's mostly known as an actor. He's in a whole bunch of movies, and he briefly has a role in this film as well. But this is about a bunch of teenage girls who end up in a Magdalene asylum. If you don't know about the Magdalene asylums and or Magdalene laundries, look them up and you will want to tear your hair out. They are horrible. They were mostly run by the Catholic Church, but there were similar laundries and workhouses run by other religious groups from the end of the 1700s through 1996. Yes, 1996. The very last Magdalene laundry was closed in Ireland in 1996. Essentially, they're named after Mary Magdalene, and she obviously, when she became a saint, she became repentant, and she denied herself all the pleasures of the flesh, including food and sex, etc., to repent for being a prostitute. So, the Magdalene asylums and laundries were run by the Catholic Church by nuns for wayward women. But as you've often heard in society, lots of things that are aimed at wayward women. One, what is wayward is very relative, and two, they're often treated like less than people. And so in this case, you follow 3 new entrants to the asylum, as well as a 4th who was already there. The film begins as you see the 3 of them end up in the situations they ended up. The first one, it's in this breathless sequence set at a wedding reception. A woman named Margaret, played by Anne-Marie Duff, is raped by her cousin, reports it right away, and instead of him getting in trouble, she gets sheltered off to the asylum because she's the one that sinned, even though I don't know she was raped. The second one, Bernadette, played by Nora Jane Noone. She's an orphan. She's in a Catholic orphanage. She just happens to be pretty and a little flirtatious with the guys, so they decide that she's going to become a whore. She isn't, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish, talking about the demonization of prostitutes. But she hasn't even done anything except flirt a little bit, and they throw her in this place. And then the last one is Rose, who has given birth, and immediately her parents will not talk to her, and she's immediately has her child taken from her, convinced, guilted into signing a paper to send the child into adoption, and then immediately changes her mind, but as they take the child from her and send her to this place. And then the third one is a woman called Crispina, who is a little off and has had a child, probably, it's hinted, probably because someone took advantage of her, raped her, and she had a child, and the child was raised by her sister, thankfully, and the sister occasionally brings the child to visit, but not really, because they're not allowed to have visitors. But her ending is awful. So the 3 of the 4 women end up with escaping relatively unscathed, but no one leaves such a traumatic situation unscathed. And it is brutal in the depiction of the way these women are treated and the way these asylums were run. I have not done enough reading to know if it's like 90% right and they like turned it up to 11, or if it was really this awful. But I tend to think it was probably this awful. And we had similar, like there were a few like this, actually like this in America, but we also had a ton of homes for wayward women where girls who were pregnant had, the girls who went away and then they had their children taken from them and put off to adoption. It was usually by their parents that put them in places like this. And there's a great book called The Girls Who Went Away that sort of looks at that entire generation of 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 girls. It was mostly middle class white women that this happened to. This movie is brutal. It has a lot of violence. It has a lot of it has a very strong point of view of how it feels about this situation and about these institutions. And there's a very pointed part at the end where one of the women who's escaped, she's now a hairdresser, and she ends up hiding in the rain hiding under an alleyway to get away from the rain, and so do several nuns. And the way she looks at them, even if these nuns aren't like the nuns that she knew, she's had such trauma inflicted by them that seeing them again causes flashbacks to that trauma, and it's hard for her to see them as someone else, as something else. And I think this movie does a good job of demonstrating how trauma can manifest in such a way that anytime you see anything that reminds you of it, you're going to remember that. And also, it does a great job of demonstrating basically how, I mean, it's clearly very anti-Catholic, the Catholic Church, and especially anti the Irish Catholic Church. I was not raised Catholic, so I can't say, but I will say that I was raised in a religious atmosphere, and thankfully, for the most part, the way I was raised, it was not very severe, and it was not very like deny yourself now and get into heaven kind of shenanigans. But I've definitely had my fair share of run-ins with people that religion just has taken hold of them in such a way that I'm like, mm-hmm. Thankfully, I don't know anybody who would have acted the way the nuns did in this, but I'm actually going to go see Novitiate tomorrow, I think, and I haven't decided. There's Novitiate and God's Own Country are both playing, and I want to see both. I might see both. I don't know, or see one tomorrow, one on Saturday. But the point is, I'm glad I wasn't raised in the Catholic Church. Yeah. So I guess if you were raised in the Catholic Church, this will speak to you in a different way, and if you weren't, it'll make you grateful probably that you weren't. This is the Magdalene sisters from 2002. It's on Filmstruck for another couple of days, and I think you can get it on DVD. It's very well made. Very much made me glad that I was not raised in the Catholic Church.